start off this with saying that was a total and complete failure. Today we're going to be installing the digital guard dog keyless system on the 2025 MT-09. Digital guard dog offers a multitude of different products for different manufacturers. We happen to be using the universal system because they don't make a plug-and-play system for the Yamaha MT-09. But they do offer a plug-and-play system for a multitude of different brand bikes out there, cars as well. Check them out on the web, link in the description. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using the Digital Guard Dog Kim U, which is U stands for universal, meaning the wiring has to be done manually. There's no plug-and-play option. So we've got to, one, identify our switch wires, which this goes to the on-off switch or the run-stop switch on the handlebar. And we also have to identify our power and ignition switches, which is probably difficult to see on camera, but we'll get that reset when we start to work on it. But this is for the key switch. We have the constant 12 volt, and then we should have a switched power. So when the key is the on position, it will grab power from the constant. So we've got to identify the switch power on the switch. One with the key on and one with the switch in the run position. And then we have also got to do the same for one for the key switch and find the constant without the key in the on position. And then the powered or ignition wire once the key is turned to on. And we've got to splice into those with the digital guard dog system. Now I've already mounted it where I feel is going to be the best option, and that is here against the frame rail. Gives me enough wire loom for the two sets, the key switch and the handlebar switch. To run those, we got to get into the headlight bucket for the handlebar switch, and then we'll just be able to route this with the main wiring harnesses for the key switch. Some of these wires will not be used. These two here, the red and black, are the ones we need. These other two are for accessory, which we don't have accessory on our key switch, so they will not be used. And then we've got the 3-wire here, which is for the run stop switch on the handlebars. Black wire won't be used. Gray wire and white and black wire will be used. So they don't match the colors of the wires in the bike, so we've got to identify which wires those are, and then from there we can splice into them, get this thing running, and test out the keyless key fob that comes with it. So hang out and watch us, and let's see how we can get this done. What's up, YouTube? So you just saw about 3-minute clip of where I was talking about installing the digital guard dog keyless remote for the 2025 MT-09. And I want to start off this with saying that was a total and complete failure. User error on my behalf, and I'm not sure it was designed to work with these newer bikes as it is the older bikes that are out there. But anyway, we had some malfunctioning parts due to either a couple of things. Maybe I installed it wrong and overcurrented a few things, or it was not intended to be used and damaged a few things, or just luck of the draw. But as you can see down below, or as you can see in the video, I've got a couple items here. We got a neutral switch and a relay. We'll show you one at a time here the issues that I found based on trying to install the digital guard dog. Now, I'm not saying it's digital guard dog's fault. More than likely it was user error. I did tell them the year, make, and model as it was requested during purchasing. I just don't know if they're aware, or if I did something wrong, or if it's just not meant to be on the MT-09. But either way, we had to wait on parts. They are not easy to come by and took a week and a half to get here. At least the relay did, which was the most needed part. But anyway, we'll start with the neutral switch. This is the original one that I removed, and this is the new one. A couple of things about this. After rewiring everything as it was supposed to be, again, I did cut wires, tied everything in, spliced everything in, and never got it to work. No matter how I wired it, following their directions, it never actually automatically kicked on with the key fob. So again, I'm just not sure it was designed for the newer versions or newer electronics that are built into these systems on these bikes. But in any case, we'll get to the problem. So neutral switch. I'm not sure if it was a coincidence or it was caused by some kind of miswiring. But upon trying to restart the bike, I couldn't get it to turn over. It would just click, and couldn't figure it out. Had to get the service manual, which I did find a copy of that for the 2024, which was thankfully should be exactly the same, and seemed to be exactly the same as I was working through this. So did some testing with a multimeter, and one of the things I found was I was not getting continuity on this one. I get continuity from the hex to these threads here that thread into the bike, but I wasn't getting any from the pin to the bottom pin. Another visual observation, and I know it's going to be hard to see, but this pin does not stick out. Doesn't depress when pressed, which may be normal, but it should stick out some. And as you can tell, it's barely protruding. So it's not going to be finding neutral, as it's probably just sitting above it. So I decided, based on the not finding continuity, that I would order a new one. And as soon as I got the new one, you can already tell the difference. The neutral switch sticks out quite a bit further. It also moves freely when depressing it on the bottom. And I do get continuity between the pin on top and the pin on bottom. So we've already tested it, and putting that in, it did show neutral and allowed for the bike to run. However, once that took place, I would put it into first gear and release the clutch, and we would not be able to go anywhere. It would just kill itself, almost like the kickstand was down. And that's what my first thought was. Oh, I forgot to bring the kickstand up. And I looked down, and the kickstand was indeed up. It was not down. And multiple tries of that, I determined something else was wrong. So I just started testing relays as it laid out in the service manual. And we got to the main relay, which is here. This is the old one. The main relay does your fuel pump and a few other things, including the diode, which is a part of one of the switches, which includes the kickstand switch. And I'm not going to walk you through the whole layout of the pins or how I determined anything. I will express, following the testing of the relay, I did identify that what they call pin 5, which is the second pin. So you got 3 large pins, and then a group of small, but 3 large and 2 small right here. And those 5 pins are all part of the switch or the diode. So I was able to identify, doing a continuity test, that the pin number 5, which is that second smaller pin in there, was not reading continuity as it should. Tested it on the bike, tested it off the bike, and determined that, well, you know, based on that and what the user manual says, even though it's for 2024, I think I'm going to go ahead and order the main relay here. This is a 5 kV or 5 VK 8190 81950-53 or GBR 30Y-W5. So there are other relays that will work. One specifically is the 5VK 81950 G8-43 G8R 30YW4. So that one does work. I've tested it. But we want to go back to the standard one that we purchased, and this came in the mail. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall the neutral switch, install the new relay, and then we'll test run it for you, and I'll show you that everything works. So stand by and let's get this thing going. Okay, so kind of a weird angle for y'all, I'm sure, but it's the best angle I could do to get this installed here. This is the neutral switch going back into its home. Just threads into the bike. It's right behind your clutch, under the frame, easy to access. Get a 14mm socket. I got a deep well. And just for testing sakes, we're not going to put any torque values on it. We're just going to tighten it down and make sure that it's seated appropriately. Okay, don't want to go too crazy because it is aluminum engine cases, so don't want to strip out the threads. But here is the plug. Gonna make sure that is seated in there, just like so. And that's how you set the neutral safety switch. And we'll readjust, and you can watch me plug in the relay and give this thing a start. All right, now we got our new relay here. And we're gonna unbox it, unwrap it. And then we'll go ahead, key in, go ahead and give it a plug. And it snaps in place. We're hopeful that this is the fix, so we're going to slide this protector back on here. Push it up in there, and we'll slide that back in its normal location. And that's reset. So now we'll give this bad boy a crank, and hopefully she runs. As you can see, we have the neutral light showing in neutral, and we have the neutral switch light. So they're both illuminated, and means we are in neutral, so it should fire. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to put it into first gear and pull in the clutch and try to fire it. Okay, showing you we're in first. Kind of a glare. There we go. I'm going to have to relocate you guys to test this out, so give me just a second. All right, pulling in the clutch. And we are fixed. So, needless to say, lesson learned. Maybe do a little more research on equipment that you purchase. I did follow the directions as it lays out. It does have directions specific for Yamaha models. So one thing it does is it has QR code for installation. For the complete manual, scan the QR, go to their website. But it does also lay out some things in here. We followed the manual on the website because it does detail a little bit more about some of these other wires that we were saying we weren't going to need. We ended up using them, tying them in, and we're still unable to get the key fobs to work. Pretty neat little key fobs. I would have loved to have had it versus having a key, but I guess the SP model is going to be reserved for that until I can figure this out or try something new. But been a rather hectic couple of weeks waiting on parts, hoping that was the fix. Not having the availability to those quickly was nerve-wracking, and hence the reason that we name this video Emotional Damage because I created my own emotional damage, and I'm grateful that I was able to get this fixed, get it back up and running, and we'll take it out for some rides and just have some fun on it now while we continue to wait for the DNA stage 2 air filter. Not sure what the deal is. The seller said that they're the #1 seller of DNAs, and I picked the right place, you know, give me lines of nonsense. And if you'd like to know who they are Moto D. I've bought a few things from them without any issues, so I assumed it would be good to utilize them. And they were called out in Google searches for having the Moto D or the DNA Stage 2. But we are at a month, and actually a couple days over a month at this point, and still don't have that DNA Stage 2 filter. We did the airbox modification, which definitely will help with the ECU flash. It does run a lot better than it ever has, or a lot better than stock. And I am super excited just to have some fun on it now and enjoy being outside. Even though it's 100 plus, it's still better on 2 wheels than being on 4. So anyway, appreciate you hanging out for the video. Take a lesson from me. Definitely do some more research. Make sure you're getting something that will actually work, and or know what you're doing a little bit more possibly. I did learn a lot through this process electrically, following wiring out, so that was beneficial. With any accident, you can either make it the detriment or make it a learning experience, and I definitely made it a learning experience. Not that I'm going to be a qualified electrician anytime in my near future or far future. I do believe that I learned a little bit more about how this bike works, how the wiring works, how relays work, how the neutral switch works, and understand that a lot more than I did beforehand. So there is some upside and some benefit to screwing everything up. Anyway, appreciate you hanging out. See you soon.